Hello, today I'm in Trondheim, and Trondheim is famous because it has, in the background you can see St. Olaf's Cathedral, so just think Golden Girls, and this is where St. Olaf was. He was a king saint, and this was an early capital of Norway in the sort of Viking era when there was sort of regional kings. The first king who is considered a king of Norway was from around here. This is the first sort of capital city. This I'm in at the moment is the Archbishop's palace, and it's one of the earliest and best preserved early buildings in Europe of the sort that has to one side, which I think is that side, is the hall, and the other side would be the chapel, and a dividing thing through the it's a very old style. A lot of colleges in Oxford have this sort of style, but they're a bit later than this one. This is I think early 12th century. Basically the Archbishop, who is Archbishop of everywhere you can imagine in the North Atlantic, including Greenland, was Archbishop of Trondheim, and I'm going to take some more shots of various bits of Trondheim. They're preparing in this corner here for the festival, St. Olaf's Days, which are next weekend, so I won't be going to that, but they're getting ready for that. There's a pilgrimage associated with St. Olaf, and you can't get into the cathedral at the moment because the pilgrims are having a service, interestingly, in English. Anyway, take care. I'll take some more shots. What I'm going to do, by the way, is I've made it so that I'm going to have do all the snapshots at the end from all the different places with be the easiest thing to do. Okay, take care. See you around. And here we have the west front of the cathedral. It's said that the sun strikes the high altar from through this door on Midsummer's Day, and that there's a whole ceremony about this, and the royals progress here and things, so it's quite interesting to see. Also interesting that they seem to have most of their statuary, which in Britain would probably involve them having been decapitated at some point. I suspect it probably, they look repaired at least. They may well have been removed and then replaced at a later date, because it's just unusual to see so many statues on the front of a church. Well, especially if in Britain or in France, they generally had them smashed. Okay, so there's the western front. Oh, with a free man doing a lift thing in front of it as well. Oh, he's left his lift behind. Right. You know my suspicions about the statuary on the west front. It was finished in 1983. Yes, tells you a lot. It was burnt down several times, and in fact they didn't use any for 200-300 years. And then they were restoring it as part of the building of the nationhood of Norway, and so because kings have to be crowned here, they've been building it and rebuilding it and repairing it since then. But it's quite interesting to see this. And the pilgrimage is going on, reinstituted in the 1980s, so it's very much like the Iona community pilgrimages and things. Good things to happen, but you know, they're modern inventions. Okay, I'll take some more shots of Trondheim then. This is the road that leads from the cathedral behind me, in front of me rather, and behind you, and it leads to the market square. There's the you've got a sort of nice laid out city, and I'm going to walk down and take some pictures in the market square. Hopefully the water won't drown out the what I'm saying, but what you notice is these small memorials to things that happened in the German occupation in the Second World War. It's quite interesting. This is a little thing to some people who were killed in 1942. It's a lovely little water fountain with 3 fish. A little bit noisy probably for this, but this is you see a lot of these little things because the Norwegians resisted the Germans a great deal. Anyway, onward with the journey. Here's the market square. I think what's interesting about the market square is the statue, which looks early 20th century. It's a man, probably one of the early Norwegian kings, holding a chalice and a sword, and underneath by his leg, you perhaps can't see it very clearly, but there's a severed head. So is that how Christianity sort of arrived in Norway? At the edge of a sword and a few dead bodies. Anyway, there's some thoughts. The other thought I have is, of course, you can tell it's the market square because McDonald's is there. Is McDonald's always in the centre of every city? I wonder if it's got to the point where it actually is. Anyway, there's some thoughts on the market square here in Trondheim. Anyway, this church here, which I think is Our Lady's Church, I think that's the translation I'm going to make of it. Anyway, this is where, interestingly, where the Anglicans seem to meet usually, although today they were in the Cathedral. I think this is because of the pilgrimage. Anyway, one of the things I always find interesting about these sort of places is it's a open space, it's a beautiful space inside. How many postcards of the inside did they have? 0. Are you allowed to take photographs? No. So basically I can't show you the interior of this church, which is a beautiful, probably 18th century wooden interior with all sorts of trimmings that make it look really interesting and very similar to the style of the church in Røros as it looked, although we couldn't get in because it was so it's like so irritating. What you can do is get a picture of the tower. It's not even a proper picture, it's a painting by somebody. Fine, but like, why do they not think of other places, other bits to photograph? It's got a beautiful organ loft, it's got a beautiful altar place and a bizarre and slightly interesting pulpit, and no cards at all. I don't understand this, but anyway, beautiful little church, Our Lady, well worth a visit. Here we are at the reason for Trondheim's success and existence. This is the quay. It's now been, of course, dressed up to be so it's not really an active quay for getting goods in, but it's the mouth of a river which goes into a field and then goes into the sea, so it's very protected because the Atlantic is incredibly violent in the winter, bringing all the warm air to this area, but it does mean that it's all the ports have to be sort of slightly inland, behind an inlet or whatever, behind in a fjord. So this is where Trondheim is. Trondheim actually sort of faces sort of vaguely north, but the river is here. I'll see if I can take a shot of that behind you, and you'll see, there you are, that's the quay, and on the other side you'll see, oh, the railway station. So the railway station is on the other side of the river from the main town. But the river does make an arc round and goes, and that's it. So it's got a very protected area. You can defend well, obviously. So that's why it was suitable for the early occupation by Christian kings.